Okay, I found this episode of the All In podcast where they expose the big tech industrial complex that are spewing out automated AI videos that are pro-leftist, pro-big government. This is the future, guys. That's why I'm warning you about this. Stay subscribed here. We'll keep exposing them, but other sources, and again, any of your favorite content, guys, I know all the other channels that I'm in with. Those are all trustworthy guys. Everything else, I really wouldn't trust them. Wait till you see this. Welcome to Doug in Exile.
There's also an industrial complex, according to some folks, that are backing this. If you've heard of effective altruism, that was like this movement of a bunch of, I don't know, I guess they consider themselves intellectual sacks. And they were kind of backing a large swath of organizations that I guess we would call in the industry astroturfing, or what do they call it when you make so many of these organizations that they're not real in politics, and flooding the zone, perhaps. So if you were to look at this article here, Nick, I think you have the AI existential risk industrial complex graphic there. It seems like a group of people, according to this article, have backed to the tune of 1.6 billion, a large number of organizations to scare the bejesus out of everybody and make YouTube videos, TikToks, and they've made a map of it.
There's some key takeaways here from that article where it says here that it's an inflated ecosystem. There's a great deal of redundancy, same names, acronyms, logos with only minor changes, same extreme talking points, same group of people, just with different titles, same funding source. There's a funding source called Open Philanthropy, which was funded by Dustin Moskovitz, who is one of the Facebook billionaires. Shamath, you worked with him, right? I mean, wasn't he like Zuck's roommate at Harvard or something? And one of the first engineers, made a lot of money. So he funded this. He's an EA, and he funded this group called Open Philanthropy, which then has become the feeder for essentially all of these other organizations, which are almost different fronts to basically the same underlying EA ideology. And what's interesting is that the guy who set this up for Dustin, Holden Karnofsky, who is a major effective altruist and was doling out all the money, he's married to Dario's sister. And she's, I guess, associated with EA, and she was one of the co-founders of Anthropic. So these are not coincidences. I mean, the reality is there's a very specific ideological and political agenda here. Now,
and this stuff never cuts right. We never get a break. That's billions of dollars, and it automatically goes to the left, but they're generating content, including influencers on Twitter, TikTok. There's an article that came out last year about Google where half of the traffic on the internet right now is bots and AI over the last year. Over half. They're not organic users like you and me, just organically finding things. They're out doing SEO, called search engine optimization. That's when you try and get your channel to go up in the Google search, which I do that all the time by hand, but they're doing it automated with thousands of these accounts trying to pump them up. See this? They're using tech to their advantage. Now, the right is savvy. We're organic. We don't do this spam stuff. But the left, they don't care about ethics. They just care about winning.
What is that agenda? It's basically global AI governance, if you will. They want AI to be highly regulated, but not just at the level of the nation state, but let's say internationally, supranationally.
To what end?
Well, if you just do a quick search on global compute governance, it'll tell you what the key aspects are. So number one, they want regulation of computational resources. This includes access to GPUs. They want AI safety and security regulation. They want international, you call them globalist agreements, and they want ethical and societal considerations or policy built into this.
Now, those all sound good, right? Wrong. Remember, when they say they want ethical we're talking about AI. This is the big next 4 years. AI is going to be the largest disruptive force in all of our media. I just wrote 2 AI songs today, heavy metal songs, wrote my own lyrics, but it did all the music, and I can't play an instrument. And they're the best songs you ever heard. I might write a song for you guys on this channel one day so you can see what I mean. But AI is kind of able to, it's a very powerful tool. Don't be afraid of it. You guys should all be diving in and using Grok. You ask it questions, it'll help you out. That's all it does. If my computer locks up or if I can't figure out my email, I go to Grok and I say, Grok, I'm on a Mac. How do I get my email to work again? And it goes, oh, let's help you out. Let's find out. So it's very helpful. However, these people, these tech guys are talking about these kind of philanthropic fake groups that go, We want AI regulation. You'd all fall for that, right? Because that sounds like a good idea. AI regulation, but they all know they'll control it. And you know what Democrats do? Their side can do anything, spy on anyone, tell as many lies as they want. As soon as a Christian or a pro-lifer or a MAGA person does it, you will get shut down and locked up by these people. So, and by the way, this is a great panel of guys, half Democrat, half Republican, but they're all tech guys and they all understand the power play that's going on.
Now, what does that sound like? That sounds a lot to me like what the Biden administration was pursuing. Specifically, we had that Biden executive order on AI, which was 100 pages of burdensome regulation that was designed to promote AI safety, but had all these DEI requirements. So, it led to woke AI. You remember when Google launched Black George Washington and so forth. They had the Biden diffusion rule, which created this global licensing framework to sell GPUs all over the world. So extreme restrictions on proliferation of servers, of computing power. They created what's called the AI Safety Institute, and they, again, fostered these international AI summits. So if you actually look at what the Biden administration was tangibly doing in terms of policy, and you look at what EA's agenda is with respect to global compute governance, they were pushing hard on these fronts. And now, if you look at the level of personnel, there were very, very powerful Biden staffers who now all work at Anthropic. So probably the most powerful Biden staffer on AI over the past 4 years was a lawyer named Tarun Chhabra. And he now works at Anthropic for Dario. Elizabeth Kelly, who was the founding director of the AI Safety Institute in the government, now works at Anthropic.
So Anthropic is this AI company that's going to try to take over all of your free speech. Remember, this is exactly what they did with Twitter. So Twitter was just last year's tech, or 4 years ago or 10 years ago. They got FBI guys. They got all these political guys that were all left-leaning to work with Twitter and at Twitter. And then they conducted all these searches where FBI comes in and starts questioning who's questioning COVID and who's questioning the election. How do we get Trump taken off this platform to take away his free speech? These same people are doing the exact same thing with AI. They're leaving the Biden administration and they're going straight into tech. And they'll be the controllers of that tech. Now, lucky for you, there's like thousands of different AI companies, okay? But this is one of the big ones, Anthropic. Remember that name because we'll keep looking into them.
Like I mentioned, Dario's sister is married to Holden Karnofsky, who doles out all the money to these EA organizations. So if you were to do something like create a network map, you would see very quickly that there's 3 key nodes here. There's the effective altruist movement, of which Sam Bankman-Fried's the most notable member, but which I think Dustin Moskovitz is now the main funder.
Sam Bankman-Fried was the fuzzy-haired crypto kid. We covered him on this channel, who was laundering crypto money, billions of dollars in this pump and dump scheme where you build up the price and then he'd rip all the money out. All of his people got left with nothing. And then he donates $2 million to the Democrat Party to help their candidates on this scam crypto coin.
There's the Biden administration and like the key staffers, and then you've got Anthropic, and it's a very tightly wound network. Now, why does this matter?
Let's get, because also the goals, I think, is...
Yes. Well, the goal, like I said, is global compute governance. It's basically establishing national and then international regulations of AI. Now,
but they would claim, let's just pause here for a minute. They would claim the reason they're doing it, and so we'll say if we believe this or not, but they are concerned about job destruction in the short term. They're also concerned, as science fiction as it is, that the AI, when we get to like a sort of generalized superintelligence, is going to kill humanity, that this is a non-zero chance. Elon has said this before. They've sort of taken it to almost like a certainty.
Yes.
We're going to have so many of these general intelligences.
That they only believe that when they're raising money?
Well,
hold on, because that first reason is actually more likely. The Democrats aren't going to say we're going to try and keep AI from destroying the world. That I don't think most people will believe that, but most people will believe in 2028 for the next election that AI has taken a lot of jobs. It will flat out take a lot of jobs. It will even take influence or take some of my job. So, and I'm okay with it still. I think it's an amazing tool. markets change. Okay. We don't do horse and buggy anymore. We all drive cars. And the people that made horses and buggies went out of business. So AI is just a new thing that's going to put graphic designers out of business, even the music that I'm writing, a ton of musicians out of business. And then the Democrats can run on it and go, do you really want AI to take your jobs? Because we'll protect them for you. You know how Democrats always roll out it's for the children. And then meanwhile, they're trafficking 300,000 children into the country. So just remember, never put it next to a Democrat. Never believe them when they say they care. That's the first rule.
That's what I'm sort of getting at. So
I think they believe it all the time, but maybe the press releases are time for the fundraisers.
But yet they're building.
But let me answer
really
that.
Great
so
product,
Jake,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean,
It is a great product. Claude kicks ass.
I'm more interested in the political dimension of this. I'm not bashing a specific product or company. But look, I think that there is some non-zero risk of AI growing into a super intelligence that's beyond our control. They have a name for that. They call it X risk or existential risk. I think it's very hard to put a percentage on that. I'm willing to acknowledge that is a risk. I think about that all the time, and I do think we should be concerned about it. But there's two problems, I think, with this approach. Number one is X risk is not the only kind of risk. I would say that China winning the AI race is a huge risk.
Absolutely, China's a bigger risk. Ask yourself, which is more likely, because you might be able to limit America's production of AI. Say, look, we're going to protect all these jobs and protect all these people. So we're going to slow and control our AI. Meanwhile, China has no ethics, no values, and they just take off like a rocket in this sector where they're neck and neck with us right now. China has no ethical concerns with beating us in that AI race. And you want to talk about a problem? China right now is sending out millions and millions of bots into American accounts using AI. Most hacking is done with AI now. They don't go in and hand code anymore. They create a robot that goes in and gathers information and goes out onto everyone's computer. Again, don't fear. This is not about, I'm not trying to make you scared. I am trying to make you more scared of the idea that AI is going to become self-aware and destroy all of humanity. It might get there one day, but you know what's going to get there a whole lot faster? China getting good at AI and deliberately destroying America. I fear China more than I fear the robot that has no idea what it's doing or where it's going that might get that place one day. So I'm trying to keep us focused.
I don't really want to see a CCP AI running the world. And if you hobble our own innovation, our own AI efforts in the name of stomping out every possibility of X risk, then you probably end up losing the AI race to China.
He just made my point. I'm so smart.
Because they're not going to abide by those same regulations. So again, you can't optimize for solving only one risk while ignoring all the others. And I would say the risk of China winning the AI race is, it might be like 30%, whereas I think X risk is probably a much lower percentage. So there are other risks to worry about. And I do think that they are single-mindedly focused on scaring people with some of these headlines around, first it was the bioweapons, then it was the super intelligence, now it's the job loss. And I think it's a tried and true tactic of people who want to give more power to the government to scare the population, right? Because if you can scare the population and make them fearful, then they will cry out for the government to solve the problem. And that's what I see here, is that you've got this elaborate network of front organizations, which are all motivated by this EA ideology. They're funded by a hardcore leftist. And by the way, I became aware of Dustin's politics because of the Chesa Boudin recall. Also, Reed Hastings just joined the board of Anthropic. Remember when he, back in 2016, tried to drive Peter Thiel off of the board of Facebook for supporting Trump?
So these are bad hombres. These are big tech, big brained bad hombres, guys. The battle for the country. And I swear, I don't ever want to hear another video about election integrity, printed ballots. What are we going to do about the ballots? This threat blows that away. That is the battle of 2020. And that battle did not happen this last year. Don't stay in the past on those things. I'm telling you guys, the future of our party and the future of America. And first of all, it's going to be the red-blooded Americans, the Patriots' heart, but having tech tools that we use. We need to use AI. You need to get on grok.com, Grok. Start using it, getting good at it, because we want an army of us using AI, not the Chinese communists and not a bunch of Democrats trying to run this thing. So I'll keep my eye on this story. I hope you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on a single event. I'm Doug in Exile.